You're listening to Were You Still Talking? So here we go. This is Were You Still Talking? This is Joel Albrecht, and in my studio today I have Alan. I didn't ask him how to pronounce his last name. Lazaros. How did I do there?
It's Lazarus, but do not worry. No stress. The world does not revolve around my last name.
Oh. But your world does. So, at age 2, his birth father passed away in a car accident. At age 26, after getting into a near-fatal car accident himself, he questioned everything. He was already very successful from the outside looking in, but filled with pain, regret, abandonment challenges, searched for answers, and finally found what he was really missing all this time: personal development. Today, he's grateful to lead a global team of 18 individuals as the founder and CEO of Next Level University, a global top 100 podcast focused on helping others enrich their lives and a unique potential in health, wealth, and love. Alan, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I always open with gratitude. I really appreciate it because I told you off air that I remember back 10 years ago when I first started in this sort of personal development space, podcasting, coaching, training, speaking, it was crickets. So thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. And I'm really glad to have you. Glad you were able to find the time because you've got a few things going on. And you also share your first name is my middle name. So I thought that was interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Spelled the same?
Yeah, spelled the same.
Very nice.
It's
Joel Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. So my first question is actually, this is an easy one. How do you find the time?
How do I find the time to be here today, or
no,
elaborate?
to do as much you do a podcast almost every day. Actually, Kevin, who you do it with, told me part of the secret of that. And you have so many clients that you're training, and you have a staff of 18 that you're in charge of, or co-in charge of. Yeah. How do you arrange your time so you can do all that?
The principle is based on Pareto. There's a scientist named Vilfredo Pareto. Begins with a V, Vilfredo. I used to say Wilfredo. Whoops. But he came up with the Pareto principle. People know it as the 80-20 rule. So 20% of effort creates 80% of results. And this is only predicated on having a goal, by the way. So I got to give a few disclaimers here. I'm an engineer. Everything's numbers. Everything's mathematics, equations, formulas. So I tend to be boring, but here we go. So the way that I find the time, so I mentioned this to you in the pre-chat last week. So I track everything. I've been tracking for a long time. 10 years ago, I started tracking in these little black notebooks. I have them in the corner of my office, actually. And then I put it all in Google Sheets. So now I run my whole company with metrics and habits and, all kinds of stuff. But essentially, last week, I did 51 coaching sessions, trainings, and podcasts. And my average week over week, I'm trying to get it in Q3 to over 50 every week. And so we have 56 days left in Q3. And how do I find the time? I basically eliminate everything that is not one of my top 3 priorities. Now, you still got to do laundry, you still got to do dishes, you still got to take out the recycling. But I would be lying to people if I said I had a strong social life. I'm the CEO of the company. I have a team of 18 people. I coach 23 individuals from all over the world. One of them is 4 times a week. 2 of them are 3 times a week. One of them is twice a week. And then the rest are biweekly, weekly, and monthly. And I don't do monthly anymore because it's hard when you only catch up once a month. And we work with, as you mentioned, 110 podcasters and business owners. And this all started from nothing. Bootstrapped our own company, no investors, Kevin and I just getting after it. And so how do I find the time? The short answer is I have 3 priorities. I call it a P3 target, P1, P2, P3. It's a little target, and the bullseye is P1, which is one-on-one coaching. So I have a coaching session actually at 6 o'clock. I have a team training right after this, at the top of the hour, and I work every day. I break my days into mornings, afternoons, and evenings. And my mornings from when I wake up to 11 a.m. My afternoon is from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And my evening is after 8. And so I have themes to my days. And I do front-facing 6 days a week. Sunday is no front-facing. But I work every single day. And a lot of people don't agree with that way of living. I think a good metaphor is Michael Phelps. So he, before the 2008 Olympics, when he won all those gold medals, he spent 5 years straight in the pool. No birthdays, no holidays, no days off. And I very much treat myself like an Olympic gold medalist. And that's very bad for my social life, but very, very good for my company and for my mission and for my desire to help people reach their potential. And so ultimately that's my goal. And so I try to find the 20% of 20% of 20% of 20% of things that move the needle. Going on podcasts is one of them. And I try to focus there.
And it's interesting. I think you said people criticize you for living your life that way, but it sounds to me like that's how you want to live your life. I mean, that's what works for you. That what works for you. So that's great. It doesn't work for me, but it works for you. That's awesome. And obviously it's even more awesome because what you're doing is helping other people and helping them figure out what works for them. So no, I think that's absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. You are in the minority of people who believe that, unfortunately. But thank you. I really appreciate it. And yes, I think you gotta make it unique to you. So thank you.
Well, and I think that's kind of the point. There aren't, I don't know if you realize it, but there are not a lot of Michael Phelps in the world. There's this theory that, you can do anything you want. Well, to a degree. But you have the talent. I ask people, I have this end of interview questionnaire. I'm going to blow one of the questions because I ask people if they believe in talent. And I've always believed that it is a talent to work that hard, to work as hard as you. That's like a special gift that some people have, and most of us don't, to be quite honest. We're not all there,
I appreciate your candor.
Yeah.
This is going to be a real conversation. Very nice. I think it's both. I think it's nature and nurture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, talent, skill, attributes, it depends what label you give it, but I would be absolutely lying to people if I didn't say that hard work comes very naturally.
Right.
For me, being lazy drives me nuts.
And yeah, and that's to me, that's kind of a talent. There's, if like you have some bodybuilders statues behind you, that's one of the big reasons I think some people do better in that than others, because it's really hard work. So you've really got to like that, to do well in that sport.
Yeah, agreed.
You've really got to like to work. You've got to like filling your days that way. Absolutely. I mean, I used to play drums. I play a little bit now, but I played drums for over 30 years. And the reason I put the work in is because I had a little bit of talent I could sit there and use 4 limbs at the same time. So once I found that out, I was able to push forward and do more. Because a lot of people they can't do that.
Well, 30 years of playing drums, that's a big deal. That's wild. Not a lot of people, most people can't do things for 3 days, never mind 30 years. So I think not everyone's going to be Michael Phelps, not everyone's going to be Tom Brady, not everyone's going to be Michael Jordan, but everyone can get better if they work at it. And I think you got to decide for you what you want your life to be about. For me, people criticize me constantly about, you work too much, you work too hard. I got in a car accident 10 years ago, and my birth father died in a car when he was 28 in 1991 when I was 2. So wow. 10 years ago, I was 26, and I got in a car accident, head-on collision, my fault, not a fender bender, 30 miles an hour, not good. And fortunately, no one was killed. We were very rattled, mentally and physically. But that was the second chance my dad never got. And I started a little company. What you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know was the tagline. It was Alan Lazaros, LLC. And I think I'm still on that same mission, which is I want to help people learn about personal development, learn about fitness, learn about character, learn about vulnerability and courage, learn about how to reach their potential. And so if I could sum up my life in one word, it's potential. If I could sum it up in one sentence, it's helping people reach their own unique potential in health, wealth, and love through the vehicles of coaching, training, and podcasting. And that's it. And that's what I help people with. And so if you don't want to reach your potential, you're most likely not going to like me. And I've come to realize that over time. But if you do want to reach your potential, you're going to be a big fan. And it really is that simple. It's unfortunate that our relationships are usually built on a common goal or a common core value. And unfortunately, so for example, you obviously value consistency and discipline over time. If you didn't, you wouldn't have noticed the bodybuilding trophies in the back, and you certainly wouldn't have valued me for it. So, if you're a pro gamer, you value video games. If you're a hard worker, you value work ethic. So unfortunately, your social life is going to be suffering a lot if you're very unique. And I think we're scared of our own uniqueness because of that. So Michael Phelps, for example, there's not a lot of people he can relate to. I would relate for sure. I would love to talk to him because I don't want to take days off. And everyone thinks I'm out of my mind. And it's like, listen, there's other people like that. Michael Phelps loved it.
Definitely other people like that. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and if you listen to interviews or are able to talk to a lot of the very, what we consider talented people in the world, big stars, especially actors, they work really hard. They get weeks and months off at a time. Don't get me wrong, but they get
in between movies.
In between movies, but they'll work for months.
Yeah,
behind the scenes that we don't know about to get into a character.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple specific ones that always get made fun of, but that's the work. It's really hard work. So they're not missing any. I mean, they're not missing anything in their mind. They're doing what they want to do.
Daniel Day-Lewis is what you're referring to, probably.
That's
Daniel
one,
Day-Lewis.
Yes. Daniel Day-Lewis, absolutely. He literally buries him. I mean, when he did Last of the Mohicans, he went out for, I can't remember how much time, but it was either weeks or months with a musket, dressed in buckskin, and lived like he would have in the film.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And
it's unbelievable.
I mean, really, we don't see that in the film exactly. You're not looking at his hands and seeing that he's been camping for a month, but he does. He knows it's there. Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was a great film too.
Pretty
that was
wild.
one of my favorite films when I was a kid, and I remember I was at Beauty and the Beast on ice, and I said, "When's Mohicans on ice?" And some of the other parents were like, "Why is this little kid? Why has he seen that film? Because it's pretty gory,
Oh, it is. That's true. That's true. It has it has Wes Studi in it as the bad guy, one of my favorite actors. Yeah, but then when he did Lincoln, he ran the country for 4 years. He ended.
He had everyone on set call him Mr. President, though.
He did. He had everyone call him Mr. President or Mr. Lincoln. There was no phones on the set. It was very much stayed in the time, which I think as an amateur actor, someone who does acting locally, it would be amazing because of what you're trying to do. You do acting? Dedication. Yeah, I do.
Cool.
Yeah, I love acting. It's awesome.
That's awesome.
I do industrials. I've done a commercial or two. I do short films, dozens of them that I would never point anyone to. And and I've done some theater stuff. Theater takes a lot of dedication at any level. Like, I do local theater here. You have to really spend those months that you're doing that play. There's not a lot of time for anything else. Yeah. So,
that's awesome, man. Yeah. That's really cool. I respect. That's it. Respect. Yeah.
That's partly how I was able to do this because of my acting background. It just came natural to be on camera. This is what I do. This and my gaming stream is what I do to, fill up that bug. I started doing this during COVID, like so many people.
Very nice.
But there was a question I was going to ask you about. You talked about this on one of your podcasts. How do you ever get burnout, and how do you handle that?
I try really hard to take care of the asset. So the asset is my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self. And I every day I do build the self, build the family, build the business. My beautiful girlfriend and future wife, we have 3 businesses between the 2 of us. Both of which, hers is to evolve human consciousness, mine is to bring personal development to the masses. And so they're very in sync. We have a podcast together too.
Yeah, that is very similar.
Right, yin and yang. I mean, it's unbelievable what has happened there. We have a conscious couples podcast together. So, and we have a company. We've been coaching couples for 5 years now. Actually, it's been really cool. And we help them achieve their goals and dreams together. It's not just counseling. It's coaching. It's cool. It's really, really cool. And I've learned a ton because I didn't know anything about relationships. I was the science and math engineering guy, so she's taught me tremendously. But when you talk about burnout, I'll give you the science of it. Ultimately, I created this pyramid of fitness. That's what I call it. I call it the pyramid of fitness. And my favorite part about a pyramid, I'm going to nerd out a bit here, is that in order for it to climb taller, it has to get wider at the foundation. So even in 2D, a pyramid has to get wider in order to go higher. Mm-hmm. And so the pyramid starts from the bottom up. I'll go from the bottom up. So it's sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, mobility, breath work, and supplementation. So it's 7 categories, and then there's subcategories under all 7 of those. And that's really how I don't burn out. I take really good care of those 7. And the whole fitness industry, I was in it for a while. And I did 43 photo shoots. I did modeling. I was a fitness coach, fitness competitor, and fitness model. And I realized that the whole industry is overly focused on supplementation because that's where they make money, obviously. Sleep is free.
That's what they sell. Yeah.
Yep.
They sell supplements.
Sleep is free. Hydration, depending on where you live, is free. So you'll never find me without water on my person. And so the real way I don't burn out is taking really, really, really good care of the asset. My asset is my brain and body. And I always say this to people too, and maybe I'm a weirdo in this, but if you were to lop off one of my arms, I'm still Alan Lazaros. But if you lop off my brain, I'm gone. The brain matters. The brain matters the most. And if you research this, ChatGPT, AI, whatever, Google, neuroscience has proven functional, chemical, and structural changes in the brain. And sleep is critical. Great sleep is critical. And so when you take really good care of your brain and body, you can put more on the court, metaphorically. And I'll tell you what, me 10 years ago, no way could average 50 a week. No way. I would burn out. I would burn to the ground. And I have. I've burnt down to the ground several times, but I always get up smarter. I always get up stronger. And I always change my approach. The only wrong answer when you burn out is to stay the same. So Emilia and I, we eat healthier now. We hydrate constantly. I mean, I've been hydrating with this, a little bit of caffeine, but I also have my water here too. So I treat everything like an Olympic athlete, and especially my brain and body. And so I got an 81 sleep score last night, 82 sleep score last night. I have an Oura ring that tracks my vitals. Mm-hmm. And so I'm in a good place. But when I'm getting a 66 or a 54 or a 52, or I'm traveling, I mean, I'm not at my full potential or full capacity, and this interview would suffer.
And everyone can feel that. I mean, anyone, at least I sure can, if I don't get enough sleep. I used to, when I was younger, even your age, I could sleep anywhere. When I traveled, I could sleep on a plane. The minute it took off, I was asleep. Somehow I lost that ability over time. But
really? That's bad news for me, because I feel that way. I'm 36. How old are you? Just because I love the context.
62.
Oh, whoa. Okay, cool. Yeah. Awesome. And to me, my brain is all numbers. So as soon as you say 62, it's okay. So you remember the 70s, 80s, 90s. Awesome. Interesting.
Remember them. I lived them.
Well, that's what I mean. That's important context. I mean, the world has changed more in the last 30 years than the previous 3,000. So it's
right.
really,
oh, right.
It's really wild. So I love that if I know your age, I can learn from you because you've experienced things that I haven't.
What blows my mind is that a lot of the things that, I experienced when they were happening are getting big again. Everything's coming back. It's kind of like...
Give me an example.
Music, a lot of the music I listen to, and, you've heard of Led Zeppelin, and all the bands, Rolling Stones, The Who, all these big bands that were big when I was younger are still big. And people are like you see the videos of 20-year-olds going, wow, what's this? Listening to like a Led Zeppelin song or a Pink Floyd song, that kind of stuff. And fashion always comes around. That's just kind of a normal thing.
And then the big hair is coming back. The youngsters big hair again from the 80s. Yeah.
That's funny.
It's interesting.
My first band where I toured and got paid something, we were a hair band. We were covering other bands, but we were a hair band, and everyone used cans and cans of Aquanet. I don't know if you know Aquanet, but they made their hair as just Aquanet's a hairspray that smells terrible, but it's like cement.
I'm gonna need some of that.
And my hair's so thick, or was so thick, it wouldn't really work. So I never was able to get the big poofy hair. It was
kidding.
I don't know, little side story.
I'm a huge fan of classic rock, by the way. So we can talk. All those bands you mentioned, I know vehemently. Vehemently is probably the wrong word, but my mom and stepdad loved classic rock, and I am still a huge fan. Every now and then I like classic rock, 70s, 80s. I think the 90s it got weird. Alternative rock in the 90s and 2000s I think was pretty cool. And then 2010 on, I was in college, and now I don't even know what's popular. I like NFX. I think he's awesome, motivating as hell. But I don't really listen to much else. I don't listen
to much new music either. My new music is still from the 80s and 90s.
Is it?
It's
nice.
Well, in the 80s, I thought all the 80s music sucked because there was a lot of new wave. And to me, now I think it's great stuff. But at that time, I was so into the rock and punk and stuff that it sounded terrible to me. They didn't even use instruments. And then I started listening to like U2 and the Police and some of the just amazing bands out of the 80s and listening.
And then
to
you got Metallica, Nirvana, all that kind of stuff. And then that was alternative rock. I really enjoy alternative rock nowadays.
When Nirvana came out,
when I'm in the gym.
Oh yeah, it's great to work out to, but it's also really deep. I mean, Kurt Cobain had a tough life, and it's all in there. Like, it's all in his music. And they worked talking about working hard. They worked really hard on it, which nobody recognizes because it seems very simple. But when they came out, I was working in the mailroom at A&M Records. So this album came out, and it was literally being handed around to people because David Geffen he just didn't care about it. He thought it was terrible. He didn't know. So it was literally being handed out by different record execs and by different people in the industry because you always get a certain amount of free albums. And this started getting handed around to people, and they just exploded basically from word of mouth. So by the time they were done with their first tour in a van, then Geffen had to promote them because they were
That's
huge.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Nirvana was awesome.
Nutty.
They were awesome. Loved it.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah. And there wasn't a lot of great music when they came out. And then as soon as they hit, Pearl Jam blew up.
Green Day.
Soundgarden. Green Day was a little bit after that.
Yellow Card.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
what about Blink-182, all that kind of stuff too? I'm
Blink-182, I know that's I haven't heard that. I haven't listened to them as much. I know they're really good.
Yeah.
And partly because they have a really good drummer. A lot of stuff I equate to, well, who's the drummer?
You're the only one. I'm kidding.
I know. It's true.
But it's important. You need, it's just like with film. You're obviously a filmy too. Yeah. Film buff. And same, the music, the score, the director of photography, the lighting, the gaffer, which is the lighting. And it all has to come together. It's really something. And,
It's
and
interesting.
if you have one bad actor or actress, it ruins the whole thing. Like it really is like making a great film is. I have a close friend of mine who directed his first feature film not long ago.
Oh, awesome.
And we grew up together. And we were the first IMDb'ers, before Amazon bought them in 1998. And it's just, I'm such a film lover. To me, it's the hero's journey. I needed inspiration. I needed heroes. I needed inspiration. I playfully refer to where I grew up as the Boulevard of Broken Dreams. And I needed inspiration. And I went to film, Gladiator, all that kind of stuff. So I can tell you're a film buff. And so if you ever want to talk film, you let me know.
Big time, yeah. I love, and part of it is that there's a lot of people in my local film community who are always trying to do films by themselves, and hooray for their efforts. But film to me is it's a group effort. It's
a team effort. 100%.
It's a team effort. Yeah. It's about
same with business.
Same with business. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
music
you see,
too.
Music and of course, it used to be, but
yeah. Well, here's the thing, right?
But still, you've got to have writers and producers that know what they're doing.
You've got to, and everyone has their piece of the puzzle, and you need the whole orchestra, and then you got to play the orchestra. I think that's what leadership ultimately is. And I can't play the violin as well as one of my team members, but I have played it, and I know how to play it. And metaphorically, I don't know how to play the violin, but I'm playing the orchestra, and I think that's what a CEO is supposed to do in a company. But one thing that I'll share that I thought was unbelievably fascinating. People said my whole life that no one achieves anything great alone. And I agreed and disagreed simultaneously, and I didn't know why. It took me 30 years to figure this out. I've always been kind of existential. And I figured out why. Because one great player can be the difference between a good team and a great team. Because they lead by example. So no, you can't create a magnificent film without a team. But one person can make the team greater. One Tom Brady, one Michael Jordan, one James Cameron. You can set the fucking standard. And I think that when that clicked for me, it was like, listen, it's not about you, Alan, but you can make the difference. Your standards and your work ethic. And I said this to Kevin, and I know Kevin's been on your podcast. I said, if anyone ever works harder than me at Next Level University, I should be fired as CEO.
And that is really interesting because you mentioned James Cameron, and he apparently has that same kind of work ethic. He's the first one on a set. He's the last one to leave. He's apparently not fun to work with, but he made Arnold a star. And what did he do? He didn't give him any lines. He wrote this part for him, and he cut out most of the lines, and he said, "You're a robot," and bam, there's
100%. James Cameron is, in my opinion, the best director in history, and Steven Spielberg's up there. Obviously, you've got Christopher Nolan. We can talk for days. But the thing that I think is really hard for me is a lot of people villainize these people. And I understand why. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to be a great leader without being toxic at times. Right. It's easy to be nice when you have no standards. Michael Jordan was hardcore, and that's why he was Michael Jordan. And I have a really hard time because at our company, 18 people, 23 clients, 110 podcasters and business owners. I laid into Kevin right before this. Like, I'm not even joking. Him and I were going at it, and that's actually why I was late, because he and I have to what we call drive to five. He's a man of the people. Mm-hmm. He understands people better than almost anyone I know. And I understand business. And I understand mathematics and finance. And I call it STEMBIF, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, business, and finance. Everybody loves Kevin. Nobody likes me. But my standards, and I told Kevin, they need to like you, but they need to know that it's my standards. That's okay. Kevin and I are yin and yang, Steve Jobs and Wozniak, Bill Gates and Paul Allen. Oprah had someone in her corner who's an engineer. I am the villain. It's okay. It is what it is. I don't want to be the villain, but I am. Everyone says, Kev, great guy. That is not the first thing you say about me. The first thing you say about me is, I don't know if I like that guy. That's okay.
See, that's the first thing they say about Tom Cruise. Everyone says Tom is a great guy. I think they're lying.
I
I think they're trying to stay in his good graces because he does everything, I guess. When he's doing
I don't
a movie,
know how. I don't know how
everything.
I don't know how he gets people to say that. Because Tom Brady, for example, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, I've studied all these people's careers. The Rock, like these people, and again, please don't associate me with any of those people. But Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, like a lot of people consider those people, they villainize them. Jeff Bezos, and I always say everyone shits on Bezos, but they all still use Amazon, and it's very hard for me to figure out how to be a good, virtuous, respectful man and do what it takes to succeed. Because what it takes it's easy to be nice when you have no goals. When you have big goals and it requires a fucking team, it's very hard to hold the standard when everyone wants to fucking coast. And that's a very fine line.
Right. Yeah. I use Amazon because they addicted me, the bastards.
You funny, man.
I've gone around, especially in the last few years when things have gotten worse there. More stories coming out of Amazon and their Gestapo tactics. But I will go all over town looking for a widget, and then I'll just be like, it's just no other way.
Yeah,
gotta go to
100%.
Amazon and get my
Gotta
damn
go.
widget,
It
and
is
it's
what
going
it
to be
is.
here tomorrow, and that's awesome, and I'll still be excited.
Maybe today.
Maybe
today. You're in
exactly.
Oregon. It might come today. Yep.
Exactly.
Fulfillment center down the street.
Yeah. They're talking
I ordered
about
something once and it came an hour and a half later. I was like,
man.
what the hell?
Well, they're
I'm
talking
in
about
Massachusetts. So
they're talking about building one right here where I live in Eugene, and there's a big, of course, there's a big hubbub about it. Eugene wants to be hippie town, and then the other half of Eugene wants to expand. They want to grow. They want to be. There was a push to call this the what is it? I forgot the name of it, but it was basically they wanted to be the second Silicon Valley, the Silicon Shire. That's what it is. Somebody wanted to name,
cool. Cool.
Kind of.
It's a cool name. No,
It is a cool name.
The Silicon Shire.
Silicon Shire. But
it's still homey, but we also have a fulfillment center of all robotics.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the funny thing is that it's like, you don't want that. Go down to San Jose and see if you want that.
Yeah.
Go down there and see what it's like there, getting around town and getting groceries and buying an apartment. And I don't know. It's interesting. They want growth.
Pros and cons.
Exactly.
Pros and cons.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you don't understand the pros and cons, you sign up for something you didn't know. And that's a good lesson too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, okay, you want this. What you really want is the money. Come on, give me a break.
Well, I want a flourishing economy, but none of the downsides that come with it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Exactly.
We could talk for days existential about that.
Yeah. So you've got to go in a really short amount of time. I'm going to do what I said, and I'm going to try and wrap this up quickly. I have one. Oh, here's a great last question, because you do a lot of these. You do a lot of podcast appearances. You're on 25 different podcasts, and you're managing this company. So just specifically with podcasts, what is like one or two really big lessons you've learned either from being on podcasts or from doing your own?
The first thing is it's not about you. And the moment you make it about you, you're just going to stop getting better. You're going to come off arrogant. I'd probably come off arrogant anyway, but it would be way worse if it was about me. And what's the intention? Why are you on the show? And I mentioned this to you off air, but I think of it like a triangle. I think everything's shapes for me, geometry, and trigonometry. But so it's you, it's me, and your listener. Who is your listener? Why are they listening? Do they know why they're listening? Is it subconscious, unconscious, or intentional? So number one is, who am I speaking to? What are they trying to achieve? What are they struggling with? And all of those are sides of the same coin. Because what you're trying to achieve means you have certain struggles. If you're trying to achieve a bodybuilding competition, you're going to have struggles with being lean enough and struggles with gaining muscle without gaining fat. And so if you tell me what you're trying to achieve, I can reverse engineer everything about you. So the first thing is, when you're podcasting, you need to understand who you are and who the audience is, and then what the host wants for their audience. And it's a triangulation. It's really, really something. Euclid had axioms and common notions, and that is the way I think. The second thing is mastery. One of the main reasons why I podcast so often is because I used to have a company called Alan Lazaros LLC that I mentioned to you, what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know. Mm-hmm. Because I wanted to bring personal development to the school systems. And I realized very quickly that that was the worst tagline ever to be able to do that. And I realized that I can't practice my craft unless I have permission from others. And I got so sick of it, I said, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast where I can practice effective communication without having to be invited to speak. You've spoken on stages, I've spoken on stages. It's really important to get your 10,000 hours in. And again, 10,000 hours is arbitrary. I have 11,066 as of today, coaching sessions, trainings, and podcasts. So if this seems effective in my communication, it's only because of the thousands of times I've done it before. Trust me, it was terrible in the past. I do something called the Facebook memory of the day. And I'm going to do it today. I haven't done it yet. And you look back on this day and it goes 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, and you see, whoa, old podcast clips.
Oh, right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And it's certain things got way worse. Fitness, for me. I was in way better shape back then, unfortunately. This other thing, of course, it was my whole world: fitness model, fitness competitor, fitness coach. But other things got way better. So I hear me speak back then and I think, wow, I was atrocious. I was terrible. But of course, compared to now, and you know what's weird? I was actually better than most back then. So to me, mastery is the other reason why you podcast. Is if you can learn to effectively communicate with others, you are a very powerful person. Leadership is critical. And in the future, regardless of AI and automation and technology, leadership is so unbelievably needed. If you cannot move people, you are in serious trouble. If you can, there is very little you can't achieve.
That is awesome. That's I love that answer. Absolutely fantastic. There was so much. There was a lot in there. One of the things that I focused on, and several people have said this, and it helps me a lot, is that as soon as I realized the podcast was not about me, in other words, I started having guests on, it made it so much better. Because I don't want to I don't have a subject to go on about myself. And for me, it is about the guests, because I like to bring ideas into the world. It's literally about bringing some light into the world. That's part of the tagline of the show. And so I really appreciate that idea. And also, when I realized, the more I shut up, the better the podcast is.
You fun. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for letting me shine my light, through your platform. I respect you, and I respect what you do, and I'm very grateful. And I'll come back anytime, by the way.
Oh, that is awesome. I think I'm going to take you up on that, because this was enough. This was some time. It was more than a half an hour, but I'm just going to say, this has been, were you still talking? This is Joel Albrecht, and in my studio today, I've had Alan Lazaros. We have been talking a lot about goal setting, and a lot about running a company, and a little about movies and things like that. I appreciate you listening. It is, oh geez. Well, you'll see in the show notes all the places to get a hold of Alan if he has time to coach more people. And of course, watch his podcast. It's got a lot of wisdom in it every day, every single day, 20 days a week. We will, we'll be back soon. So as I always say, be good to each other and be good to yourselves.